This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering, people are dying, entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
Dear students, just now you were listening to Greta Thunberg, a 15-year-old schoolgirl from Sweden, one of the leading climate activists. The clipping was taken from her talk delivered at the World Climate Action Summit in 2019. She was passionately asking few questions and making some arguments. She was asking, how can we talk about economic growth when the entire ecosystems are collapsing? How can we destroy the dreams and childhood of future generations? She was also pointing out that we are in the beginning of a mass extinction. Our planet, our biodiversity, our fauna and flora are in the beginning of a mass extinction. This phenomenon of mass extinction is the topic of discussion in today's class. Mass extinction. Before we go into the details of mass extinction, let us look into some of the related aspects. First, we go from what we know to the unknown. You know that the average lifespan of a human being, say 80 to 100 years. Likewise, every species on earth also has a lifespan, and it varies from species to species. For example, one species may have a lifespan of 1 million years, whereas some other species may persist for 10 million years. Let us imagine that species A has a lifespan of this much period in millions of years. Species B also had a similar lifespan, whereas species C had a longer lifespan, whereas species D had a small lifespan, species E, say average, and species F may also have an average lifespan. So here you have 6 species, and the species which exist, the data of species which existed in the past we get from paleontological studies, that is fossil records. So here you have 6 species, but in reality you may have many more species. But when you try to compile this data, you can have an x-axis and a y-axis. On x-axis we take time, and on y-axis we take number of species. The time period, you can again divide it into different periods, say for example 10 million years, 20 million years, 30 million years, 40 and so on. So, the time period you can, when you divide it into different time periods, what you get is a bin, different time periods. So, the first bin you get 2 species, and in the second bin you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 species, and in the third bin you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 species, and in the fourth bin you have only 1, 2 and 3 species, and in the fifth bin you have only 1 species. So, the data, when you try to analyze or when you try to plot it, you have the same time period on x axis and number of species on y axis. So, you can divide it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the time period again in millions of years. So, in the first bin you had only 2 species, and the second bin you had 5 species, and the third time period you had 6 species, whereas in the fourth period you had only 3 species, and in the fifth period you had only 1 species. So, you get a graphical representation like this. So, from this data it is evident that in this particular time period in the geological history you had maximum diversity, maximum species existed in the paleontological data. The graph also clearly tells you that after this time period the diversity drastically declined. So, because of some or the other reasons there was a drastic decline in terms of biodiversity at this particular period of time. So, this decline was not gradual. If at all it were gradual, you would have got a slope here, but it is not a slope, it is a sharp bend. So, such events, that is a sharp decline or loss of biodiversity in the paleontological data is known as what we call it as mass extinctions. So, mass extinctions can be defined as a loss of about 3/4, for say more than 75% of all species in existence across the entire earth within a short geological period of time is known as mass extinction. The word short is very important here, because in geological point of view or in paleontological terms, the word short means anything less than 3 million years. Further, mass extinction can also be comparable to the current world scenario of global COVID-19 pandemic. In some cases, we can compare these two, mass extinction and COVID-19 pandemic. You know that the life and death of human beings were naturally occurring before that. But because of the current COVID-19 pandemic, there is a massive death of human beings because of this particular reason. Although COVID-19 is affected only by human beings, but in the case of mass extinctions, several species, maybe say more than 75% of species are affected. So, such events or wiping out of species, more than 75% of species is known as mass extinctions. It is believed that the earth originated about 4.5 billion years back. The geological history of earth can be divided into different eras, periods and epochs. It is also argued that the diversity of life first exploded in the Cambrian period about 540 million years ago. Since then, there are 5 mass extinction events happened during the geological history of time, and these 5 mass extinction events are called the Big 5 mass extinctions. The 5 mass extinctions happened on an average every 100 million years or so, but although there is no strict pattern in their timing, you all know that in biology it is full of variations and no strict rules are applicable in biology. Further, the extinction, each mass extinction event lasted for about 5,000 to 2.76 million years. The first mass extinction occurred at the end of Ordovician period. Ordovician period, about 445 million years ago. It is argued that about 86% of species were wiped out during this mass extinction event. The Ordovician mass extinction seems to have been the result of 2 climatic events. First, a planetary scale glaciation, what we call it as ice age, followed by a rapid warming period. The organisms at that period of time were not able to adjust or adapt to this rapid cooling and warming periods, and hence it is believed that they went extinct. The second mass extinction event occurred at the end of Devonian period. At the end of Devonian period, about 360 million years back. This event also wiped out about 75%, more than 75% of species at that period of time. Most of these species were bottom dwelling invertebrates of the tropical seas of that period of time, and they were the major life forms at that period. This period in the geological history is also characterized by high variations in sea levels and rapidly alternating conditions of global cooling and warming. It was also the time when plants were starting to take over dry lands, and hence as a result of the flourishing of plant life, there was a consequent drop in global carbon dioxide levels, and all these were accompanied by soil transformation and periods of low oxygen. The third and probably the most devastating of the big 5 mass extinctions occurred at the end of Permian period. At the end of Permian period, about 250 million years back. Because of the magnitude of this extinction event, this Permian extinction is also known as the Great Dying, because nearly all marine species went extinct at this event. Overall, about 85% of species were wiped out at this period. Several reasons have been suggested as the cause for Permian extinction. Some of the suggested causes include an asteroid impact or an asteroid collision with Earth. As a result of this collision, the air was filled with the pulverized particles and thereby creating unfavorable climatic conditions for many species. Moreover, because of the particles which were filled in the air, this could have blocked the sun rays from sun to reaching the earth's surface and also generated intense acid rains. Some of the other possible causes of Permian extinction also include, or it is debated, such as the massive volcanic eruptions in what is today's Siberian region, increased ocean toxicity caused by an increase in carbon dioxide levels, and the spread of oxygen poor water in the deep oceans. The fourth mass extinction occurred at the end of Triassic period. At the end of Triassic period, about 200 million years back. Again, about 80% of species were wiped out during this mass extinction event. This extinction was caused by some colossal geological activities such as large volcanic eruptions, both in terrestrial as well as in the marine environment. And this continuous series of massive volcanic eruptions must have elevated the atmospheric carbon dioxide levels and related gases, thereby increasing global temperatures and acidifying the oceans. The last and probably the most well-known mass extinction occurred at the end of Cretaceous period. Cretaceous period. About 76% of species went extinct, including the all-conquering dinosaurs. The most possible reason for Cretaceous extinction was a combination of volcanic eruptions and an extraterrestrial impact, whereby a meteor colliding with the Earth. But the end result of Cretaceous extinction was that as a result of the demise of the super predator dinosaurs, mammals, a new opportunity was given to mammals to diversify and also to occupy new habitats which were previously occupied by dinosaurs. And as a result of this, mammals, small mammals, flourished and diversified, and from these small mammals, all the modern day mammalian species, including human beings, later on evolved. These are the 5 mass extinctions that occurred during the Ordovician period, Devonian, Permian, Triassic, and Cretaceous periods. Now the big question arises, are we in the midst of a 6th mass extinction? The same concern was shared by Greta Thunberg in the video that we saw in the beginning. The answer, with all possibility and with all scientific evidences, is yes. Scientists are concerned that we are now entering the 6th mass extinction, mainly as a result of the Anthropocene, the impact of Anthropocene, the most powerful species on earth, the human beings. We may be causing a 6th mass extinction due to our activities.